Hello, good morning. 3:30 in the morning. It's election day today here in the Philippines. You don't have to look very far and understand too much about what's going on, but on the news, there's a lot of talk about paying for votes. You know, we talk about an election integrity over in the West. Are the machines working correctly? Is there any skullduggery going on? You know, the idea in Australia that all your election signs and pamphlets have to be removed, disappear, no longer visible on election day. Over here, they just flutter away, and if you're lucky, the local area will sort of self-clean itself over the next few weeks. Those that can't afford much will probably take the bigger plastic containers and use them, not containers, the signs, will use them to patch up a few areas of their home, if you can call it a home, a place they call home, because they know that the rains are coming in the evening now. But one of the things that I've noticed is that whilst they're reporting it, blocking out the view of the people that they're trying to interview on TV about taking money, many of the so-called candidates have periods of time where they dish out helping hands, we'll call it, 1,000, 1,500 per person. And when you think about it, it must cost a lot of money to dish out just to get one vote. But maybe one vote is all it needs, because the people that are doing it are not doing it nationwide. They're just doing it within their little area. They're after a job as maybe barangay captain, maybe a mayor, maybe even just a board member. But one vote, I suppose, makes all the difference after all. If you're over the line with one vote, then that's what that was worth. But you wonder where all the money comes from that is given out to, I would say, desperate people, because the one thing that you will do see is that when the word gets out that the money is being given, it's like a swarm of people rushing to their open hands, but the people literally have got bundles of 1,000 peso notes in their hand. And it's not hard to see that even people who are legitimately trying to stamp out these events have got a pretty hard time trying to police it, because it's not just the desperation of the candidate trying to get into power. It's the fact that the people who have so little will take anything just to get an extra few pesos to put money and food on the table. And sadly, you see almost stampede situations where some of them get actually injured, or even, dare I say, die as a result of the stampede. Dreadful situation. But it moves on to the other idea that it's not so much morals, it's about the fact that they don't seem to see that it's important to, when you purchase something here in the Philippines, and so many of the Filipino buy these things on credit. And credit is a dreadful trap for people, because They want the item now. They need it now. They convince themselves they need it. Might be a refrigerator. It could be even a vehicle like a scooter. Just to experience using a scooter for a few days on a very low deposit, they don't really think about, and they don't really almost care about the fact that it's going to be repossessed a week or a month later because they can't afford to pay the payments. But just to have had the opportunity to have a vehicle, to have a new fridge, new washing machine, it seems to be the only driving force, because you can't just say, well, the Lord will provide. It's a blessing that the payments are being met, because that's not the real world that we live in. You borrow money, people give you credit, you expect to get paid back. Don't expect to have to go through the rigmarole to repossess the item and then still try and recover some kind of recompense for what you've done, lending the money in the first place. There is a tendency here that you buy something, you make a few payments, and you keep it up to date. But they don't seem to care, or they don't seem to understand a country that often highlights the fact that saving face. Having a repossession guy rock up and maybe with a small truck to take away an aircon or a washing machine. Do they not have any pride? Do they not realize that the neighbors are seeing what's going on? You don't need to know anything about the family that happens to have that happen there. You can see their washing machine being delivered. It's almost a fanfare. Ta-da! Look what we're getting. And then a few weeks later, a month later, they see a truck rock up and the item is being taken away. They all know that, okay, you could argue that it's being repaired, but generally they're repaired on site. So you wonder, are they just thick-skinned? Do they never think these things out when they first start off? Or is it just me? Is it just, it's a different way of thinking about money, obligation, debt? One of the things that I suppose, celebrate over here is that often many of us build a home for our loved ones. And in doing so, we're not only proud about what we're building, we're excited, we go ahead and put all our thoughts and dreams into how we're going to build it, what it's going to look like at the end, even to the point of landscaping it, all these types of things. But the one great thing is that we don't have to go cap in hand to a bank. We don't have to arrange a mortgage. We don't have to obtain the money to do it, because most of us have come with a certain amount of money, and we wouldn't anticipate building unless we could do the job. But a lot of homes here, a lot of homes start off with gusto, this idea we're going to have this beautiful home. And what happens? They run out of money. And 9 times out of 10, it's not by design. It's actually, in a way, it is by design, because the family often rely on the money that's coming to build the home from overseas, from an overseas foreign worker. And they send the money in drips and drabs. So that's why you see homes that are partially built for many years. And then suddenly there's this influx of money, and the house then starts to take on its final look. But for foreigners, of course, you start and you finish. Most of us do anyway. And from the neighbour's point of view, again, image. People go past and they go, wow, big house, sir. No, it's just an average house, you usually reply. Or thank you, or that kind of thing. But for them, they're impressed. They're in awe of what you've been able to do. Now, you would think that the woman of the house would also be feeling very chuffed that the house that she's having built for herself would be something that she would admire herself. I often remember how I used to come home and look at what we had built. I say we because it's her land. But it was a feeling of pride coming home. And also the fact that there was no mortgage, no payments every month, no payments each year, except for council tax and municipal charges. But it's not a shared emotion here. The idea that something is exciting is reserved for little objects, little surprises. They're really into sort of Valentine's Day, or again, just recently, Mother's Day yesterday. They come out and they grab a balloon with I love you, Mum, and Happy Mother's Day, and maybe a bunch of fake flowers, even real flowers. But often it's a little cake from Red Ribbon. These are the things that they get excited over. They get excited over putting balloons in the shape of Happy Christmas or Merry Christmas or Happy New Year glued to the wall. No regard whatsoever to the wall being damaged by the double-sided tape. Instead of using something like blue tack. Blue tack? Haven't seen it here yet, but I'm sure it is available. But it's much better on the wall surface. But they will do this. They'll dress up for New Year's Eve. They'll dress up the table with food. These are all events that they can celebrate to their friends on TikTok, on Facebook, whatever. And that really, in a way, sums up how the Filipino mindset is. It is all thumbnails and sound bites. There's nothing as we would measure it by, in the sense that there's not the same sincerity in achieving something. You'll see a daughter or a son on a canvas outside of a home here, celebrating to the neighbourhood. Not everybody knows that Jimmy or Mary lives here, that she's just passed her bar exam to become a lawyer, or that he or she has just become a registered nurse. But of course, if you put a big canvas on the outside, which will stay up for many weeks, announcing to the neighbourhood that they finally achieved the ultimate. They've got graduated and they've now become, eventually I would say, an overseas worker able to support the rest of the family. Again, of course, a side issue. Congratulations, dear, for passing your exams and showing us that your dedication has paid off by our sacrifice to get you through college. But it is all about show. It is about saving face. It's a dreadful way to live. I mean, you buy something. Why wouldn't you want to pay for it? Why do you want a bad credit rating? Credit rating means nothing here. You can have a long history of not paying your debts, having repossessions even. But people will still sell you an item here. And yes, they'll still be added to the list. It's almost like with one breath they're saying, shame isn't anything to be worried about. Saving face, oh, well, we'll forget about that at the moment. And yes, oh well, it was repossessed. We'll buy another one later when we get another bonus payment. It's a strange way of living. But the one great thing is that when we come here, hopefully, none of us fall into that category. None of us allow that to happen within our family group. I'm sure it does happen occasionally, but maybe unbeknown initially by us, because they will keep secrets. They don't like telling you the true, whole truth and nothing but. I don't know why. Never understand why. After all, isn't she the love of your life? Isn't she the one that's your soulmate? Isn't she the one that often claims that it's so lovely that you can talk to each other now? My other husband or my other boyfriend couldn't talk. We couldn't understand why we were behaving the way we were. But who knows? I don't. So there's my thought for this morning at 20 to 4. I'm hoping that I can download tonight, this morning I should say, because again, the system is not working very well. Bit of a worry, isn't it? Maybe it's just people trying to stop people using the internet for the moment. You have a great day. Stay safe. I hope you don't get in the firing line. Dangerous times, election days, election times. A lot to lose, a lot to gain. Bye now.